And we're live. Welcome to Radio Mythoverse for June 25th, 2019. You just heard the Mythics theme from Zalin Talus. That theme, it belongs to the story that stars Althea Fletcher, the lead character of Mythics. She is the thoughtful intellectual of the Mythoverse 3, having been forced to do her job with both hands tied behind her back, thanks to Adobe Kroger's order, the Order of the Carolingian Cross. Therefore, she must rely on every ounce of wit and resourcefulness she possesses to maintain the balance between the supernatural and the mundane. Her story is fascinating, and Zalin Talus did a fantastic job with that theme song. Now, the digital download of that track was made available in our recently funded Kickstarter campaign, so if you backed it at certain tiers, you will receive a copy of that song in your inbox, along with the rest of the digital rewards. Now, Zalin has done a lot of work for a lot of different independent creators, including the Rags team, so he's quite the prolific composer. I'll put a link to his channel, which is called Comic Book Music, in the description below the video. Good evening, folks. I'm Dan, and with me tonight are the two other lead creators of the Mythoverse, Brett and Matt. Hey guys, glad to be on with you as always. What's up?
I was going to say that screaming in the background belongs to Dan's 1-year-old.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sealed up in a room, and he's throwing temper tantrums in the other room, so do not fear. He's just not getting something that he wants. He's not in any danger.
But yeah, it's good to be back. I love doing this show every week.
Same. It's always there. There's always something going on. Well, new updates every week, so it's always got something interesting to talk about.
Yep, and above all else, before I even get started, took a little bit of time over the weekend to give us a snazzy new layout with the chat displayed on screen and a nifty little ticker along the bottom there, and some excellent Luigi artwork. So check it out, folks. We're definitely moving on up in the world here. We're taking things seriously. So
yeah, production value, yeah. It's like we know what we're doing. Yeah, we got you all fooled. Anyway, I always like to start off the show with some good news, so I'm going to do so. First of all, in terms of the campaign, the hoodies, the Maeve hoodies have been ordered, but we still have one backer who purchased a hoodie that did not fill out the backer survey, and I sent out a message to said backer, so please fill out the survey so we can get your hoodie size and shipping information, please. We expect to receive the hoodies by the weekend or early next week, and we will begin production shortly thereafter. And as we complete each hoodie, I will post a picture of the progress so that the backers who are expecting them can remain confident that they're being worked on. In addition, I want to make sure everyone is aware that backers who purchase the hoodie can expect to receive 2 reward packages from the campaign. One will have the hoodie, and that will be fulfilled by me because the hoodies are being produced here. And the other containing everything else, your books, your posters, your stickers, your cards. Those are going to be fulfilled by Wicked Publishing because they're working with the printer. So, that's exciting. Looks like Duskquill is in the chat. Hey, what's up, Duskquill? Glad to see you.
He says he's recovering from 3 hours of blueberry cleaning and organizing.
Blueberry cleaning? You were cleaning blueberries. What does that mean?
I think he meant to... Well, you do gotta wash them for insects and stuff.
Oh.
As such.
Okay. I didn't realize he had that many that would require 3 hours of work, but that's awesome. I love blueberries myself, and it's one of my son's favorite snacks. I always make sure he gets plenty of those. Okay, so secondly, also last week we announced that we've assigned former roles to the 3 of us in the Mythoverse editorial and writing staff. That's me, Brett, and Matt. And I'm happy to announce that I think everything is off to a pretty damn good start in that respect. Specifically, Brett, our new head of community outreach, has really done a good job so far. He's the first thing I'd like to talk about is that he's created a whole brand new role in our Discord server called Brand Ambassador. Brett, why don't you tell us a little bit about this new role?
Okay, so what the brand ambassador is, it's essentially being a field agent. If you're now, disclaimer, this is done, this is purely a volunteer position. So if you volunteer to be a brand ambassador, what you are essentially going to be doing is you're going to go out to your local comic book shop or go to conventions, and your job is to help increase brand awareness. Let's just talk to people, get people interested about the Mythoverse, chat them up, do whatever you got to do. So we're opening the first 5 positions. Raven Monroe, who was one of our early backers and has been one of our most enthusiastic fans, is claimed the first position. So there's still 4 spots open. We're sort of giving this a trial run to see how it does, and if it does well, we will open the doors open to those who want to help out the Mythoverse. Now, like I said, it's a volunteer position, so there's no money in it. But we are going to make sure that it's worth your while. We'll, with stuff like exclusive merchandise and variants, what have you. But like everything else at this point, it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, like Brett said, we will take care of you as best we can, but remember, we don't have that much money. It all went to the artists to bring you the excellent books, so we will do our best to take care of you, but don't expect to get wealthy from doing this yet.
Yeah, and also one thing I also want to bring up, because as I am all about the community outreach, I brought in someone into the Discord that I thought would help also help with the community, especially with some of the fans and backers who might have fallen on hard times financially, still want the books but have no other means of getting them, and that would be Pope Fire. Say hi, Pope Fire.
Hi, Pope Fire.
Well, she said it. But yeah, Pope.
Yes, I am the lead face and lead voice of Comics Titans Fundraiser. That is a program that is there if you cannot afford indie books and you would like to get this book, but you have children, you have special needs, you have college. We can help you get these books if you're unable to afford them.
Well, that's wonderful. What a great cause, and I'm very, very happy to assist in any way, and I'm sure Brett and Matt are as well. So we're glad to have you on, and we're glad that you're here to raise awareness about this.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, it's really wonderful to have you. So that's one thing, well, 2 things, and among many things, it feels like a Monty Python skit now. Among the many things that Brett has done as the new head of community outreach is everything we just spoke about. And on top of that, the Discord is getting pretty lively, thanks in no small part to the fact that Brett is very, very strongly engaging the community in the Discord. We got channels to post your own art, which was Brett's doing. So if you have artwork that's not related to the Mythoverse and you want to show it off, you got a channel just for that, and it's already got quite a bit of takers in there. A lot of great artwork there. There are now channels to suggest con appearances for us or other Mythoverse creators, a channel to promote your own channels and streams. And he's also reaching out to other folks, aside from Pope Fire, to writers and artists that might be able to use in future campaigns to enhance the Mythoverse and the property. So great job all around, Brett. It's only been a week, but you've really hit the ground running.
Yeah, and also, Pope Fire's not just here to hang out because she likes the books.
No, that was originally the reason, but then they found out that I do run a program, so they're like, "Oh, you should come here," and I was like, "Okay." But no, I am super excited to be here. It's always really nice to help the indie guys. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for coming. So that's everything that Brett's done. So let's continue on that theme a little bit. Matt Trin, as we announced last week, is taking on the role of head writer, and he has also jumped into his new role with both feet. Over the last week, one of the things that he's done that's notable to that end is that he has spearheaded the creation of a writer's guide to the Mythoverse. So I'm going to go ahead and swap over here so that you can all take a look at it and you could appreciate the breadth of this document. So I'm going to scroll through it. It's over 20 pages long. Okay, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here, and so it is dense with material, and it contains an overview of all the settings, all the organizations in the Mythoverse, all the Phase 1 characters, by which I mean the characters in the first 3 launch titles, Mythics, Dovey, Kroger, and Changeling. And Brett and myself have added our parts of the universe to this document, and it is rich with detail. It has links to other informational documents that have been put together about the Mythoverse here. And yep, this was all Matt's doing. He got this all started, and Brett and I have enhanced it, but it was all his brainchild. So good job on that one, Matt.
Thanks. I figured if we're going to be doing a shared universe, we should have something for other writers to use as a source of information, instead of just taking up all the time to ask other creators what's going on in this area of their world.
Exactly. So that was a very good idea, and it's coming together beautifully. Duskquill says, I need to finish up my portion. Wasn't able to complete it due to internet being taken out due to maintenance accidents. Don't worry about it, Dusk. It's there. You should have access to it, and add to it when you can, man.
Yeah, I think we're at this. I think at this point for us, there's not really a lot of rush.
No, I mean, our books are deep in production. We're still laying a lot of foundational groundwork, but all the essential work is being done behind the scenes, even though we're not the ones writing the book. As you can see, we do not take this lightly, and we are doing everything we can to make this as rich a universe as possible, not just for us, but for all future creators. Hey, Derek just joined the chat. Hey, Derek.
Hey, Derek.
Derek's awesome. And he says, man, now I want to play this as an RPG. Yeah, I think that would be a fantastic idea, and that may happen down the line if we can get these properties to take off. So
Dusk has actually gone on record that he says that that his comics either end up turning into tabletop RPGs or the reverse. So
nice.
That could happen. And I've also got an RPG group of guys who've been playing RPGs for like decades. So who knows? It could happen someday.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing D&D since the Red Box, so I'm definitely into that kind of thing, and I think that this world would lend itself very nicely to something like that.
I at least kind of saw it going more of a World of Darkness or Call of Cthulhu's direction.
It could have elements from almost every one of the major RPGs of the last 40 years. I mean, you can have a little bit of D&D in it, you can have a little bit of Cthulhu, you can have a little bit of Werewolf, or a little bit of Hunter, a little bit of Mage, the Ascension, a little bit of everything. Yeah. So that is that. And what have I been up to as the editor-in-chief, handling all the boring business stuff? Well, a lot of stuff that isn't really worth discussing because it's not especially exciting. But what we did announce last week has come to fruition. I'm going to swap over to a different view now so you can see. We have officially launched the Mythoverse Comics Subscribestar and Patreon. So I'm going to go over here and see that here's the Subscribestar and here's the Patreon. They are essentially identical. The reason we opened up a page on both of those platforms was to accommodate the folks who want to support us but prefer not to use Patreon, reasonably so. So that's what the Subscribestar is for. And if folks want to continue hitting us up on Patreon, there it is. So essentially there's only one tier on both of them, and it is a $1 tier. And all we're asking for here is the means to provide support for the additional content we're putting out there. In addition to the 3 comic books, we have a weekly web comic that is drawn by an exceptionally talented artist, Antonella. And we also have upcoming audio content that we aim to have released once a month, that will showcase like side stories that take place in the Mythoverse from other people's point of view other than the main characters. So unfortunately, Antonella was out of town this week, so there will be no new Mytho Chibi's webcomic tomorrow, but in lieu of that, we're going to put up some fan art that was produced for us by the community. and give those artists a little bit more exposure and kudos for their support of the Mythoverse. So in future, if we ever run into a situation where we don't have the content, we will definitely make up for it with fan art or what have you. So the addresses to both the Subscribe Star and the Patreon are scrolling along the ticker below. But the Subscribe Star is at Mythoverse-Comics, and the Patreon is at Mythoverse Comics, all one word. Why did I make them different? Because I made a mistake, so whatever. So that's that. We are going to raise awareness about these two platforms here, and it is something that we hope will allow us to continue putting out the content and paying these creators for doing it. So those are roughly all the announcements that we have. So I'm just going to put up some in-progress pieces from our artists as we settle into a discussion.
Do you mind if I plug my Patreon real quick?
No, no, you are not allowed to plug anything.
Oh, drats.
Fine. All right, go ahead and plug.
I have a Patreon where people can get chippies at, and currently we are trying to raise some money for Pope Raven's new tablet. So if you guys would like to get a cute little chippy, you can get them off my Patreon.
All right, can you
just plug in my shameless plug-in there?
Can you give us a link so we can drop it in the chat?
Give me the link, Popefire, and that'll work. I'll drop this in the chat right now. Give me a moment.
Thank you.
Yep. But yeah, I think she did one of Maeve, but which kind of was a recolor of Beast Boy, but to make look more like a girl.
Oh no! Like my actual chibis are more serious. They're not Teen Titans. Here, I'll show you a picture of them. But they're actually really adorable.
Yeah. I'm actually I see the art from the opening page. Those do look cute.
Yeah, the Teen Titans Go things I did for free, so I didn't put too much effort in them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my bad. I've seen that one. That is just too damn cute. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that one in one. I think that's down at Troy, right? The one with the cat ears.
No, that's Nightstar. Starfire has a daughter from Kingdom Come. So.
All right, I went ahead and put your Patreon up on the stream so everyone can have a look at it.
It just did.
Thank you, guys.
It's in the stream right now. Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah, our goal is 15 Patreons. So we're trying to reach it. We're gonna get there sooner or later.
Well, hopefully sooner rather than later. This is some adorable artwork. I love this Spider-Man. Love the Batgirl.
Yes. I haven't posted up some of the most recent ones.
No, we should probably toss her some cat.
Got a little Moon Knight and a Kylo Ren there, it looks like.
No, that is the main character from Bully.
All right, well, his mask looked like Kylo Ren, but I was wondering why he was dual wielding.
Oh, no, that is the villain from the first Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, Darth Revan.
Darth Revan. Yeah, that one, we just have the line art of that one.
Nice.
Yeah, Kylo Ren kind of took some elements from Revan.
You can
He
tell.
took a look, but none of the cool stuff.
No.
None of the cool stuff.
Well, Revan was cool because, spoilers, it was you, so. I hope I didn't ruin it for anyone that hasn't played the game yet.
It's a 20-year-old game, Dan. They've had time.
Oh,
yeah, I think the game may be older than me.
I
love it, by the way.
Older than the game. I was like 14,
I love what people can come up with because they always have these characters that I never really even think of. So it's always nice to get those characters that you may not know a lot about.
Then we should probably get some Mythoverse chibis done by Popefire then, Dan.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we need to do so. I will definitely be hitting up your Patreon after the stream, and I encourage everyone that's watching and sees all this beautiful artwork here that's just too cute for words to please do the same. Support her. She's doing wonderful work here.
Why, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm only part of it though. Pope Raven does a lot of the serious art, so. Hope Raven's an amazing artist.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So,
So yeah, definitely check that out, folks.
So I guess moving on. We brought Popefire on to discuss the Titans fundraiser more in depth, especially for people who want to get their hands on Mythoverse comics, but due to whatever circumstances, they're unable to. So Popefire, how about you take the floor?
All right, what would you what questions would you like me to answer?
I guess you could start out like, let's just say I want to get all 3 Mythoverse comics, but I just don't have money to buy even digital copies. So
Well, what we would do with that is
so how do I get in touch with you guys?
well, there's two ways you can do it. If you have a Twitter account, you could message me on Twitter, and I'll send you a form which you'll fill out. You can fill it out on MS Paint, and then just like resend it back to me. Or you can go to our Facebook page where we have the form, and you can fill out the form there, and then send it to the Facebook page again. Now what it is it's set up to where I'm not actually in charge of buying the books. I'm in charge of reviewing the forms. Now, if you wanted all 3 books, we would probably do 1 physical, and then the rest we would probably do digital. Mainly because we are a community-driven project, so we don't have all the money in the world, so we kind of have to be a little bit more conservative with our spending. But what we'll do is we'll send it to. I will blur out your first name, your first and last name, and we'll send the form to Eric Nidotowski, who's in charge of the finances. He will go and pick out. We'll ask you which physical copy you want, and then the rest you'll receive digital. And he'll go to either Kickstarter or Indiegogo and purchase those for you, with the funds from Comic Sans Fundraiser. And then you just gotta wait. It's just a waiting game after that.
Yeah. Now, in our case, we had our Kickstarter wrapped up about a month ago. So, and we don't plan on releasing these till the 21st of September, but we are gonna have them available in both physical and digital. So, can it still work that way?
Well, that one's a little bit more tricky. With that one, it would depend on how well I know the creator, because a lot of the times the creators will have extra copies, and if I'm like, hey, I have some people that couldn't afford your book when it released, they still can't afford it. Is there any way I can pay you using the fundraiser to buy this person a book? Um, and usually if the creator gets back to me and they're like, yeah, I have some extra copies, I don't mind doing that, or sometimes it's even I can't do that, I'm sorry. It mostly just depends on how well I know the creator.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wanted your book, because I think I can come to you guys and be like, hey, do you guys have any extra copies? Yeah, Pope, we have extra copies, or no, we don't have extra copies. So it just depends.
All right. Can you just give me a link to the Facebook page so I can put that in the chat? By the way.
Give me one moment.
But yeah.
Now, we actually just changed because we'd been doing this for a while, but we never made a public announcement for it. But we recently just came out and said we would support any indie creator as long as they're respectful to their fans. At the time when we started the fundraiser, we were Comicsgate only. We are no longer Comicsgate only, and we support any indie creator as long as they're respectful to their fan base.
That's a good policy. That's something that we are striving to do. I honestly hope that our fans will roast us if we ever slip in that capacity, but that is something that we take very seriously over here at the Mythoverse.
Well, I have morals, and I kind of take my morals very seriously, and I don't want to support creators that treat their fan base poorly. If you I feel like that's something that a lot of people will understand.
Absolutely. I understand it full well. I think that's one of the main reasons Brett and I work so well together, is that Brett and Matt and I should say, because we all share that same philosophy. We put the customers first.
Well, I'm very thankful that there's creators like you guys out there, because you guys make doing the fundraiser so much fun.
Thanks. But yeah.
Thank you.
So I guess as a hypothetical scenario, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have extras lying around, but say I needed to get a book out to someone and say out in New Jersey, and so yeah, you just come to me, and I just ring up Wicked and say, hey, we need to get a copy to so and so's place out in New Jersey.
Well, it would also depend on the price. We tend to not want to spend more than 20 to 25 bucks on a book, because again, we are a community driven project, and it does seem a little wasteful when you spend so much money on one person when other people, and because it's mostly just if we can help, we will help. If we can't help, we won't. We'll try our best to help, but we can't. We've had some people that have sent us an entire list of almost every Comicsgate comic before, and we kind of had to go, okay, we can get you two. Like, we can't. We are community driven. We have to be very careful with our spending. We also have to be wise with how we handle things, and it's worked out so far. I mean, we're doing very well, and we've helped a lot of people.
All right, yeah. Considering that you guys are essentially a non-profit, that kind of also means you guys are sort of running on donations too. So
yeah,
is that collected through your Patreon or through a separate thing with Titans Fundraiser?
Comics Titans Fundraiser has a completely different setup. What it is Eric handles the finances. He is in charge of receiving the money. He sends me receipts and also gives me information on when a book is bought, so we know how much is still in Comics Titans Fundraiser's account. But my Patreon is completely separate from Comics Titans Fundraiser. Now, sometimes I'll use the Patreon money to put money in the fundraiser, but we never take the fundraiser money and use it for anything other than buying. Sometimes we've had to buy food for people in the community, but other than that, we try to stick to comic books.
All right. So I'm on the Facebook right now, and I suppose that the call to action button, shop now, is
Yes.
where you want people to go, because that brings you straight to Erica and Nidolowski's PayPal.me, and this is where you can directly donate to Comic Titans charity.
Yes, Eric Nidolowski, by the way, is one of the nicest people I've ever met. He is the greatest guy out there.
I can tell.
He actually did my icon. I don't know if that's the one I'm using on. No, I am using it on Discord. The little Pope fire with the Pope cat that is done by him, and he's always been super kind to his fan base, and he even does commissions at a very reasonable price. He's just such a great guy.
Very cool. So is this icon on his PayPal.me his artwork?
I'm sorry?
Is the icon on his PayPal.me his artwork?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can tell he's very good. Cool.
Yeah, he's people tell me that I must be a Jim Lee fan because Eric takes inspiration from Jim Lee.
You said Pope hat? I always thought it was. Oh wait a minute.
No, the cat's wearing a Pope hat.
I thought that was a Nightwing cap, honestly.
Oh no, Starfire's wearing a Nightwing hat. The cat's wearing a Pope hat. Here, I'll show you a picture of the cat because it's kind of cute. We did a chibi of Pope Cat.
Well, it's Dexstar.
Yeah, it's Dexstar the Pope Cat. But no, the cover photo is from Adrian. He was one of the people that helped me start the program, and then the icon from Comics Titans Fundraiser is from Jacob or Shabby.
All right. Yeah, I mean, like this is good. So yeah, if you
there is the Pope cat that they were speaking of in the chat.
Dexstar, yep.
Dexstar the Pope Cat.
Looks like he's a Red Lantern.
He is.
He's a Red Lantern Pope.
That makes sense.
And also the weirdest thing is I think he's an Earth cat, but he's blue.
He's from Gotham, yes.
Why is he blue?
In comics, like a lot of black hair for like highlights and stuff, they'd show like blue in there. So I think he's supposed to be a black cat, but because they didn't want him solid black, I guess they just made him blue. I agree, Grim. He is the best Red Lantern.
Really? Yeah.
But yes, Dexstar the Pope Cat. That was actually an idea from one of my one of the people that helped me set up the fundraiser.
So they made him blue because they didn't want him to blend into the background?
I think more with the suit.
Okay, I think I can kind of see it's just... Okay, I mean, like, out of universe, I get it, but What's the in-universe explanation? He's just blue?
I think to them he's black or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
they tend to do that.
So
Mainly
it's like it's like in the old Ninja Turtles cartoon where they would just put on a hat and trench coat and nobody thought it was weird.
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, Raggedy, you are mean.
Yeah,
Better
I don't
Laner
know.
than Kyle Rayner.
I like me some Kyle Rayner, man. I appreciated what he went through to bring the core back from 0.
Oh. Alright. But yeah, but yeah, if you want to get your hands on one or maybe even all three of the Mythoverse books, because we did our best to see that we could keep the prices as low as we could. I don't think any of them go above the $3 mark. I think.
Nope. We priced them out, and we are going to be able to keep the price point on each book relatively low. It's especially with Adobe Kroger, I'm limiting each issue to 24 pages because I do not want them to become too expensive until we get the economies of scale kicking in later on down the line. But for right now, we're trying to keep the price point as low as possible for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Main reason. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna compliment you on that because a lot of creators have overpriced some of their stuff. So I do think that you making it affordable for your fan base is a really noble thing.
Well, for one, this whole movement started because, in part because comics were getting too expensive. I mean, like, God's sake, you should not be paying $5 for a 20-page comic. And no, I'm not counting the ads.
That's to be making it cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you're even a moderately fast reader, you can complete a modern comic book in 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
I've completed several since we started the stream.
I mean, to be fair, I go through like a volume of a manga in like a single sitting, and that's like well over 200 pages in a lot of cases. So I read pretty fast. So that you don't want to necessarily charge someone $5 for like a few minutes of entertainment.
That used to be a price of a big novel.
It's true.
I don't know. I can always remember trade paperbacks being like, it depended on how much it was. If it was like a 4-issue trade paperback, I think it was 5. If it was like 6, I think it went up to like 8.
All right.
Well, I think now they're just wanting trades because trades are about the only way that you can afford to read more than 3 comics. Because oh my goodness, for a lot of issue 1s now they're wanting $5.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, I'll certainly say this: the bookstores love the trade paperbacks.
They do.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble discontinued the floppies.
For good reason. They don't sell.
Nope.
Well, and most of these books that you're paying $5 for have the least compelling stories I've read in my entire life. Can you blame them?
Also true.
I found myself buying for covers now, more and more each week.
When you think about it, prints aren't bad.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
Well, when you look at it that way, a $5 art print isn't that bad.
Yeah.
It depends on the artist.
Well, I've been picking up the Rick Grayson series just because of the cover art, because it's some of the best Nightwing covers. But the story in it, I have not read the story since like the first.
Yeah, you buy them. Yeah, you buy them for the cover art, and it's not because you get a good look at Dick's ass.
Oh no! You don't see his, because he's wearing like cargo pants now, so you don't even see his booty.
Seriously, the one thing that could have seriously.
They've even nerfed him.
Yeah, they originally what it was supposed to be was Tim Drake becoming Nightwing for a little bit while Dick recovers. But instead they put on a new writer, and he was like, let's just do Nightwing Army. It's fine. It'll be okay.
I mean, for crying out loud, they took away the beefcake.
Yeah.
Do they not want any joy in the readership at all?
Nope.
I think what they're trying to do is go Dan Dido, whatever his name is. It's always Dildo. Yeah,
Dan
it's always
Didio.
Dan Dildo. But I think he just doesn't like Nightwing, so he's just trying to get rid of him.
You know,
Unpopular opinion, but I honestly thought that after they killed off Bruce Wayne that one time, they really should have stuck with Dick taking over the Batman mantle.
Yeah, I think people actually really liked when Dick did. You will have to forgive me. I have not ate dinner yet. So is it okay if I head off?
That's all right.
Yeah.
You said what you needed to say, and thanks for coming on Pope. And we'll make all the links to Pope's Patreon or Twitter and the Titans Fundraiser Facebook page are in the chat. So make sure you check those out. And if you are interested in picking up one of the Mythoverse or maybe all three, I hope it's all three. But you can't. But for whatever reason, you're not able to afford them. Get in touch with Pope, and she'll set you up.
yeah, we promise.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right.
Yep.
See you later. To Matt's point, we promise that if you elect to only order one Mythoverse book, we will not ship you the others and force you to pay shipping.
Well, honestly, it's 3 comic books. Like, how much does that amount in weight? Like, what, a pound?
That would be our version of stuffing the shelves. So.
Anyway, are we even going through media mail? So it's a flat rate, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I was just taking a crack at the Marvel strategy of stuffing the shelves. Never mind.
But seriously, that's what they do.
Well,
They'll ship you extra comics and make you pay for the
allegedly. I mean, I've like Perch has mentioned that, a couple of other my LCS owners. There were 3 of them where I used to live that I would go to all the time, and they would always bitch about distribution and how it was handled.
Jeez. Kind of makes me hope that Peter Samedi and his alternate distribution takes off, because, I mean, like I said, a big problem with the comics industry is that Diamond has, I'm just gonna say, for lack of a better term, a de facto monopoly, and it's kind of in the sense that they just don't have any real competition.
Yeah, and it's the whole paradigm of the direct market, which is going the way of the dinosaur. Thanks to people like Peter Samedi, who is doing everything in his power to get comics on the shelves at supermarkets and convenience stores, dollar stores, not just specialty shops.
The thing is, even the few LCSs that are still around, they're not even catering to comics strictly. They've turned into game shops and other things. Like there's there's Stargazer Comics on 6th Avenue in downtown Tacoma. They don't just sell comics; they sell like posters, merchandise. They're not even.
And Mile High Comics is almost strictly back issues now. And in Past, Present, Future, where I used to live, was a huge shop for the area anyway. And the comic shelves, the new comic shelf, got smaller and smaller and smaller every month. And they literally turned into a magic shop, where you would play Magic the Gathering or other tabletop stuff. Comics were off in the corner.
Shit.
Yeah, and all over their facade was every Marvel hero that you grew up loving. But you go in there's barely nothing to buy. And it was very depressing.
I mean, on the one hand, I kind of can't blame them. I mean, like, comics just aren't making money anymore. So they have to, these are a business. And then pretty much all of them, they're self-owned businesses. They're small. This is the owner's livelihood, everything he's got.
Yeah, Duskquill, well, first of all, Grimm said allegedly, never a more damning word. I agree. And Duskquill also says, I've never come across an LCS despite exploring like 50 to 60% of the country. Lots of GameStops or overall nerd centers. And then he goes on to say, I still think all these places should be more of a nerd geek hangout spot rather than just shops. It's interesting. That's what a lot of them are turning into. Like up here where I live right now, there's at least 4 game shops. And they almost entirely exist to host tabletop sessions. Like, they probably make money off of people buying refreshments while they're gaming. They don't make you buy anything. They just have all these tables spread out all over the place, and they say, come on in and play for hours, So I'm not sure how they're making money, but
it's definitely not selling comics.
Yeah. Dude, I think we've talked about this before with Tank Matt, but like, does a lot of this have to do with the fact that the comics industry is still sort of targeting the speculator market?
Yeah, they obviously are, with all these number ones and all these variant covers.
Yeah, like how many times are they going to reboot these series that no one wants to read? I have no idea.
Or
Oh,
or in the case of Marvel and DC, how many Spider-Man or Batman titles is enough?
how many Deadpool variant covers will they have?
Yeah, I mean, aside from, I kind of enjoyed the Metal storyline, at least the one shots that came out a couple years ago. But other than that, I can't point to a really memorable storyline from either of the big two in the past couple of years that I would actually recommend that my kids read. Like I have trades of like Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2 back from the late 70s, early 80s. I have, Roger Stern's collections of Under Siege and things like that. Those are all memorable stories that stuck in my head my whole life, and these are the stories I pass on. I'm not passing on any of this new stuff. Like the freaking Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange body swap story. Like, and it's all about, hey, let's make jokes about how silly it is that we're in different bodies. Come on.
It's like, come on, everyone already saw Freaky Friday.
In the 80s, there was a rash of body swap stories. Like, it was a thing for a while. So yeah, we've all seen that movie.
Really? The only Freaky Friday I know is the one with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, that was a remake.
I mean the premise, body swapping. There was Vice Versa, there was Big, there was that, a whole number of them. So yeah, the long and the short of it is there's really nothing that's compelling about these books, and that I think is one of the main reasons that Vertigo recently had to call it quits, and a lot of folks were upset about that. But the point I always make is this is not that Vertigo that you grew up liking. They're not the same people running it. They're not the same people that cared about it as much as they did when they launched it, and it's fine to watch it go. I'd rather it be gone than carry the name on and disgrace it the way they've been doing.
And as unfortunate as that is.
Don't have enough examples of body swapping? Obviously you haven't dabbled long enough in the art of internet erotica. Yeah, okay. We'll leave that at that, Duskquill.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But I something I wanted to bring up was that I almost flirted with the idea of writing a Changeling issue that had Maeve and Regina swap bodies, but then I ended up accident when I realized, okay, this is gonna be way too damn predictable. It's not gonna be funny. And even I'm not that invested in the premise, so I just decided to scrap it. And Salem jumped in the chat.
Hey, Salem.
Hey, Salem.
Hey guys,
Glad to have you as
how
always.
you doing?
But yeah,
it's good to be here always.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think that's premise. The body swap could work as like a one-off gag issue, perhaps down the line. Like,
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, or I could do it. It's like, I mean, like we all know what the jokes are gonna be. It's like, like I said, all you gotta do is watch Freaky Friday, and you pretty much know what every joke I could be in is gonna be there.
That's a fair point. We could probably enhance it and make it a little bit more interesting than Freaky Friday. But, if you're not feeling it, don't write it. There's no sense in doing something.
I ditched the idea just because, like, the more I thought about them, less invested in the premise I felt. And it's kind of why I decided instead. I got one one idea, which was, and I'll fully admit, took this idea from Rick and Morty. It's the, let's just say, it was gonna be an idea where I could age Regina down to Maeve's age, and I thought that could happen. But the twist is, it's not gonna happen like when they're at school or anything, so you don't have any of the wacky high school hijinks. It's gonna happen over the summer, and like, the snag is like, well, it's not like Regina's under any quote unquote pressure to reverse it, because she just has to wait, and then she gets back to her original age, but she'll be like, yeah, no, I have a job, and I already went through puberty, and I do not feel like going through high school. So.
Grimm says they have new writers. We're using old storylines to make an extra buck off of people who haven't read the old ones, due to nobody actually reading old books, just collecting them. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, most of the stories have been told. It's all an execution now. You know, you got to make familiar stories your own.
Dusk also says that jokes with body swapping is more having the two characters trying to figure out how to handle each other's issues as each person. I can only imagine how Maeve could try and solve Regina's problems, or have Maeve's body going through Regina's PTSD. Okay, maybe there's an interesting twist. Like, you guys remember, like, right up to leading up to Superior Spider-Man, I think something that they played with was that there were little bits of Doc Ock and Spider-Man getting stuck in each other's psyche.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't Superior Spider-Man that he just took over his body completely?
I think like that was kind of the premise, was that it was Doc Ock in Peter's body. But there was also, leading up to that, like the whole fight, they kept switching bodies, and like I said, little bits of each other's psyches got stuck in one another. So like I think I remember like early around Superior Spider-Man, one theory that was getting floated around, that it wasn't actually Doc Ock in Peter's body, it was Peter thinking he was Doc Ock.
So yeah, I mean, any premise can be interesting. It all depends on how it's executed, really. So you never can.
If the body swap happened, and like there was little, and I guess it didn't just swap their personalities. All of these would also probably maybe swap their individual issues too. That's probably an interesting twist. Like, actually, now that I think about it, that's actually probably awful, because now you're sticking a teenage girl with PTSD from combat. Like, oh god, that's just awful. Do I really want to do that?
Well, would she have Regina's PTSD? I mean, that's a psychological thing. It wouldn't have to do with what body she's in.
I don't know. Like, that's just something Duskull said. Like, I can only imagine how Maeve could try and solve Regina's problems, or have Maeve's body going through Regina's PTSD.
Oh boy.
Oh wait, now I know what he means. Like, Regina has like a panic attack or something, and it'd be. I don't know how to. Oh no, it's just like I said, it.
Could offer up an elixir from a certain wizard.
Grimm says Doc Ock did become Spider-Man and became Rich Spider-Man. I don't remember much else from that one. Yeah, I was not reading The Amazing Spider-Man at that point, so
and then Pierre loses all that money because he's an idiot.
Well, he lost all the money because they needed a reset button. I mean, they basically said, we got to get rid of all his wealth somehow. How? There you go. So yeah, I mean, the way I see it, Brett, if you're not feeling the story, don't do it. I mean, the reason that all three of us started writing our own books was because we wanted to tell these stories. So there's no point in forcing yourself to write a story that you don't want to do. That defeats the whole purpose of this enterprise.
I guess, yeah, well, I don't feel it now. Maybe my feelings might change. I don't know, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just body. I don't know. I didn't really like Freaky Friday, to be honest. So I guess it's just the whole premise doesn't really hold that much appeal to me. Like I said, I'm honestly kind of digging the idea of getting Regina aged back down to a teenager. Because I think that at least has some funny bits you can play around with, like, and like because I have to imagine that even in her teenage years, like, there's like, I don't know, I just have this idea in my head that Regina was probably an early bloomer. So, if she's gonna borrow like Maeve or one of her friends' clothes, then there's the problem that none of them fit her.
Yep.
Okay, Duskquill is grabbing some more beer. Good man. I have a goblet of wine right here that's keeping me focused. Grim says it can leave lasting triggers in someone's brain, so theoretically, Maeve could end up experiencing the horror of it all for no reason in her mind and give them kind of bonding over the understanding. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, still, maybe, but it's like, I mean, like, what I plan to do is going to be awful enough to her. Do I want her to have to end up reliving, like, the incident from when Regina was deployed? It's like, that's like something no kid should have to see.
No, definitely not. So, anyway, well, it's coming up on 10 o'clock, so that means it's time to spin up the game I'm going to be playing tonight. So while I'm doing that, Matt, you haven't had much to say yet tonight, so is there anything that we haven't touched on that you meant for us to touch on that you want to bring up or talk about?
Not at the moment, other than we do have someone on our writing team that can write tabletop RPGs. So Mythoverse RPG could be in the future.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about too. The premise that he's coming up with is a part of the Mythoverse writer's document, and from what I know of the premise, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to lend a whole new dimension of storytelling to the Mythoverse. We didn't have a pure horror title until he pitched his idea, and I think it's going to be an exciting set of stories that can tie into all of our properties and create a lot of its own fantastic, iconic moments within the Mythoverse. So I agree, and if there's anyone that I think would be a good fit to help bring that to life, it would be him. So I agree with you there.
Oh, here's something. Then I pitched this idea. I pitched this over to Dan earlier because I think one thing we definitely got to consider down the line is setting up our own merch store or on the website. And one thing I think we can definitely start with is one area we can start with is like taking the logo that Lenore made for us and turn it into like an iron-on patch.
Yeah, I like that idea. I do like that idea.
Yeah. I told that to Lenore and she likes it too.
You can iron that out of the sleeve of the hoodie.
Maybe you could iron, if it's an iron-on patch, then you should be able to iron it onto any article of clothing.
Yeah,
Where's
sure.
the hoodie, Lebowski?
Like I said, we are going to let everyone see all the progress. All right, so is everyone familiar with the old Xiao Zhao 3 stick figure fighting from the early 2000s?
I know about. I saw that you were playing One Finger Death Punch in Discord.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be playing tonight. If anyone is not familiar with those old cartoons, that is what the game was obviously inspired by. I'm going to go ahead and play it real quick just because it is awesome, and I want everyone who is not familiar with them to have a chance to see it. So give me 1 second here.
Also, I want to say, Dan, I appreciate that you did not put up the latest page on the feed, because that is one page I don't think people are prepared to see just yet.
Yeah, I made sure not to include it because I got the impression you were not quite ready to share that yet. So,
No, like I said, like people in the Like, people can see them in the Discord if they want, but everyone else, they are not. Oh man, let's just say, I told this to Victor when he sent it to me. This is just pencils, and I still feel no tears.
Yeah, it's definitely heart-wrenching, so leave it to...
Well, if you want to join the voice channel, Duskquill, nobody's stopping you.
This is true. Alright, so here, I'll go ahead and play this.
Also, Dan, and your buddy joined into the chat.
Oh, cool. Now, this came out in like 2001, I want to say. And at the time, there was nothing really like it. This is back when Flash animation ruled the web, and several years pre-YouTube.
So, was this around the same time as Homestar Runner?
Yeah, around that time.
Man, I used to watch a lot of these freaking stick figure fights.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the earliest ones.
You remember the really popular one that was like forever ago called the Cliff series?
Yeah.
I used to watch the Cliff series a lot. They have some good ones there.
Yeah, there's a reference at the end of this one that really dates it. You'll know it when you see it.
Is it an old boy reference?
No, you'll see it. At the time, it was very fresh. Let's put it like that.
I think the most recent stick figure series I've seen that had a bit of ongoing to it was the... What was it? Art versus the artist? There's a bunch of stick figures.
Yes, that's actually the next suggested video.
Where a guy makes a bunch of stick figures and they're all doing a bunch of stuff, interacting with the creator, then you start fighting him back against the artist.
Yes.
It is pretty cool stuff. Well, with the simplicity of a stick figure, you know, you can get away with a lot if you're not used to animating, so you get some very interesting concepts out of it.
Yeah. So there you have it. So there was the seriously dated 1999 Matrix reference.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was still pretty hot shit. So, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready.
I honestly, I'm starting to think this is. I'm starting to think these kind of videos are where they got the idea for that one fight scene, old boy.
Oh, no doubt.
And of course, you also can't forget the really, really good classics when it comes to stick figure, which would be the Laser series, as well as the stick figures on crack series. That's some old school YouTube there.
Yes.
Kill all enemies
I
using only
think it's more
daggers.
like ancient
You
YouTube
can
now.
only throw one at a
Ancient
time.
YouTube, like Laser Collection and stick figures on crack. That's some
Dagger round.
that's some good. Like, I don't even think you can find the originals anymore. You can only find re-uploads of them. They're that
Victory.
That is actually, it's amazing that we can actually
Awarded.
we can actually call that period of YouTube ancient now. It's
Well, YouTube back then is drastically different to YouTube now. You can get away with way more stuff back then.
Also, there was a time
You
where
mean
they weren't
before-
owned by Google.
You mean back when it was fun?
Yeah.
Back when it was creator-driven and community-driven.
back when you had to upload entire episodes of anime in 3 parts.
Because they didn't do
Hey, man,
more than
those
10
were the
minutes.
good days.
Grim wants to know if you can drop the link to the YouTube channel of the Art versus the Artist guy, since apparently he's still making new videos about that series.
Nice. Yeah. Brett can drop the link in the chat, so just drop it in the Discord, and Brett will pass it on.
Yeah, you gotta be a mod to do it. Just drop in the Discord, Grim, and I'll do the rest.
Can I just say, it feels weird to be in a Discord live stream about comics that I'm not a mod to at this point. I'm a mod in so many of them. And this is coming from a guy who was never really interested in comics like a few years back.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't until I discovered Jack Irons and then our little circle on Twitter that I really got actually into comics. Like, I've read some graphic novels before, but I was more into actual books, and if not that, then video games or novels over the internet before I got into comics, and even then it'd be more manga than anything else.
Well, to be honest, if you were reading actual books, that kind of puts you ahead of most comic pro writers.
Yeah, my reading level when I was younger was way above what should have been the norm. I just like books.
Well, I put it this way: when you were in third grade, what level were you reading?
I think at third grade I was like at least double the grade in terms of reading.
You were reading at a 6th grade level.
Yeah. I just really liked reading, and around that time, around third grade, I was starting to get a little bit into writing. Just a little bit, not so much. I wasn't that much of a creative kid until then. I didn't really get creative until I was like 5th or 6th grade.
Okay, I really found that I was really creative until 4th grade.
I was a late bloomer in that regard, but ever since then, I really could not stop creating stuff. I became addicted to it.
When I was in 4th grade, I really kind of found out that I really liked comics, and I kind of like to draw too. I sort of found out in like I want to say high school that writing was more what I was better at, just because I'm not a terrible artist, but I'm not good enough to draw a comic.
I can be alright in terms of drawing, but it's not really people or creatures I draw. It would be more like backgrounds. I used to draw a lot, but I wouldn't really brag about it.
I honestly have no idea what level it is.
All I know is that for the majority of my time in school, I was reading at least either at or above double my actual grade in terms of what I'm reading at. And it's been mostly consistent. I was never really the biggest fan of Stephen King. I don't know. I just
You were reading Stephen King in 4th grade, Caleb?
Yes, and Edgar Allan Poe.
Around that time, I did read Poe and a little bit of Lovecraft. Around then, I just never got into Stephen King. I just always saw Stephen King as more of a watered down artist. You know, like, it's more if you want to get into reading, but you don't want to go too complex, just read Stephen King. And so I just found him boring more than anything else.
Do you remember?
I tend to think that he, out of everything, he at least knows how. Now, depending on the book, granted, but I've found the most genuine dialogue to come from King. Like,
the dialogue is fine, but I was never really intrigued by his horror. I was more into more of his cerebral stuff,
yeah.
like with
So you like Dreamcatcher?
Have you read Green Mile?
something like that. Like say his like his earlier classics, like oh, what was it? Stand by Me and
Okay.
what's that prison one?
The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Like around that stuff, like his not horror stuff was way better than his horror stuff. Even though his horror stuff is the one that has like the connected universe, which I'm really about. I love connected universes, but it's kind of disappointing that his horror books were more connected universe than his regular. off of like old magic casting, which involved a lot of sex. So you know
Oh, okay.
to amplify their psychicness to defeat it, they just did the orgy in the sewer, in which it was mostly like guys and like one girl. So like I would probably feel bad for that girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, King, he, for all the good stuff he's got, it's like that creative minds don't come from normality. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, at the time, was he like really, really high on crack most of the time, or something similar to that?
I know that he, I know that he, I know that he
Well,
said
I
that
know he was
writing,
on a substance of some kind to crank
yeah,
out all of his stories.
and I do, I mean, he famously said, he does not remember writing a page of Cujo.
I can believe that.
Well, with how many books
Yeah.
that guy's written, I guess I can see how he might forget some.
And you know, I'm still don't know why so many people find it like the movie it scary, and even some of my friends would say their fear of clowns came from that movie, because I remember watching that as a young kid. Though granted, I was a bit different. Like the first movie I ever remember watching was when I was 5, and it was the Blade series, but I just never found it all that scary. It wasn't until just a few years ago I found out why I didn't find it scary, is because Jim Carrey was actually told to not be like the directors thought he was too scary when he was playing the clown, and he was told to dial it back. I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's why I didn't find it all that scary. I just find it more cheesy and corny to be anything, even funny, and not, let alone scary.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've never found clowns to be scary to begin with, because the whole intention behind them is to make you laugh. So immediately in my head, I'm, I, I don't understand.
The
It's
only
like,
time I've ever really been scared of a clown was when oh, what's the series? American Horror Story came out, and you had like the mentally retarded clown that went on a killing spree became a main character, and I thought he was actually pretty scary.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually found him actually, a little bit scary. He had a lot going for him to actually build up that horror aspect. But again, it was American Horror Story. I think up until like I've seen all of the series except for the Coven and the latest one, where it was the hotel, and it at some points it's more drama than horror, but when they try to do horror, it does work out pretty well. And I think when it came to Freak Show, the horror got dialed up a little bit to 11. It was actually pretty good in terms of horror aspect. The first series, and not the first season, not so much. But when it got to Freak Show, it got pretty good.
Yeah, the first one was more of a horror soap opera.
Yeah.
I thought American Horror Story was like an anthology series, like in the vein of like Tales from the Crypt. I meant.
It kind of is. They mostly keep to the same central cast despite different time periods and different locations. That's mostly because they're building up until the new series, where it finally paid off, where you sort of realize, oh, it's all alternative universes using the same people but in different situations for some kind of grand purpose.
Okay, so there's something different about it from Tales from the Crypt then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped off of American Horror Story as soon as I heard that they were going to base one of their seasons off of Trump supporters.
Oh shit.
I've not known that, because it's been a while since I watched American Horror Story, so I didn't know that was a thing.
Dan, I know you are old enough to remember this, but do you think Salem would be the type to enjoy Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah, I think so. If you can get past the campiness of the Crypt Keeper, there was some good stories.
Oh, don't get me wrong, guys. I love Tales of the Crypt.
Oh, you've seen it. You've seen Tales from the Crypt then.
Tales from the Crypt.
Just a little bit. But
isn't that like only?
I can enjoy some campy horror.
Is that like around or even more campy levels than like R.L. Stein's Goosebumps?
I don't. I think the best way you can put it is picture Goosebumps, but with more gore.
Ah, okay. So a lot more Hammer horror than Goosebumps.
Probably, I
Yeah.
guess that's. And I think there's a little more self-awareness too.
I think the last time I've watched anything closely related to Hammer horror that I had a good time at was the was it what's his name? Tim Burton's version of the
Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
yeah, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. 'Cause I think that's the last time I've watched anything Hammer horror that was somewhat modern that I actually enjoyed.
Well, it wasn't Hammer horror, but it was kind of done in the. Well, according to James Rolfe.
Oh my god, a lot of it was Hammer horror, my dude.
Well, he thinks it was inspired by Hammer horror, and there's a lot that just it was.
Kind of ticked a lot of boxes of Hammer horror. You know, like
Yeah,
had
I
a lot
know.
of over the top gore, a lot of the suspense aspect.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, there's a lot. Like it's got a lot of the tropes that you would associate with Hammer horror movies. So yeah, it's like it's done in that vein, without even though it's not actually a Hammer movie.
Though it does keep to the you know like the meta trope that Tim Burton can't really do anything without Johnny Depp
Or Danny Elfman.
or Danny Elfman. You know, you gotta have your Burton trifecta bromance group there.
Well, it's more like you gotta have both. You gotta have the trinity of Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, and Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Unfortunately.
Well, it makes me sad that one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies isn't even with. Well, did Tim Burton do Sweeney Todd? I don't think so.
Yes,
I don't
he
thi-
did.
Yes, he
He
did.
did. Oh, okay
Mhm.
then. Well, then I don't have
It
to feel
was-
bad.
And it was beautiful.
I fucking love it. I did not expect having Johnny Depp and Alan Rickman in the same musical and even having a
Dude,
duet together.
Dude, most of the Harry Potter cast was in that musical.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny.
Oh man, I've got that on Blu-ray. I love that movie so much.
I feel sad for my dad because, despite the fact that he's a musician, he does not like musicals.
Seriously.
Mm.
Yeah,
One of my best friends is a massive musical theater nerd.
I fucking love musicals, man.
Dude, I was big into theater in high school, so
It just makes me wish that
if-
one of my
if-
favorite original soap operas,
Hmm.
well, what was it? Count of Monte Cristo.
That's a
But-
soap opera.
I consider it one of the first soap operas because if you read that story, that thing is a freaking soap opera, my dude.
I would think it reads more like a Greek tragedy.
Yeah, it's that too, but I consider it more of like a proto soap opera. But
Well, to be honest,
I really wish that could have became a musical because the concept album for the musical for that is freaking fantastic.
actually, now that I think about it, when you get right down to it, Shakespeare and Greek poems are essentially soap operas.
Yeah.
Here's something for you since we're talking about King and horror and Tim Burton and musicals. Have any of you seen Repo the Genetic Opera?
I know of it.
I saw it once, and I knew they were
I
trying to turn it into a Rocky Horror thing where you would perform.
Yeah. Just like Brett, I've heard of that, but I haven't seen anything about it.
Same.
It just
I
sounds.
thought,
I've heard it described as like what would happen if Rob Zombie directed a musical.
essentially, yes. It was the director of Saws 2 through 4. And he-
That doesn't do anything to me because I don't like Saw.
Oh, okay. Well, this
Well,
guy.
then that's also because when I was told about Saw and that I should see Saw, I was sold on it being horror and not, what it is, which is basically just barely legal torture porn.
Okay, now this is gonna be
I'm gonna
fun.
have some words with you later on.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna turn into old school Kumite here.
Oh boy.
But no, I seriously, if you want to be tripped out of your mind, I recommend that movie.
Well, all this horror talk has changed the game I've been playing. In case you haven't noticed,
You can tell.
I booted up a game called Party Hard, which is all about a guy that's been kept
Yeah.
up by parties, so he goes and murders everybody.
Yeah, I remember when a lot of the big time Let's Players played this. It was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Hey, Demon Eater got in the chat and he said, and he's spreading the hashtag. I'm Hex Brett's computer. Good man. Yeah. Good luck getting Vamp and Lenore to unhex it, though.
I still need to talk to her about trying to set something up with her offer for job over where she's at.
Oh, Lenore, yeah.
Yeah, I need to talk at least something about that because I'm getting kind of desperate for a job now.
Well, she's in the Discord, man. You can.
Yeah, I was planning on doing it like earlier today because that's when I really started thinking about it, but internet was out.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, because apparently they're doing like some road maintenance or whatever, and that kind of knocked out our internet for a good long while. But actually, they did it like yesterday, and it knocked out our internet for like evening and night yesterday, and then for most of today. I was doing mostly errands like all day today, doing some work outside, then doing the blueberries. And after I was like almost done cleaning and organizing the blueberries, my parents actually told me we finally got internet back. I'm like, what the hell? Could you not have told me this earlier?
Of course not.
Yeah. For living in the middle of absolutely nowhere, there's too much shit going on around here.
Yeah.
And let me guess, all the roads that they're fixing are the ones that don't need to be fixed, and the ones that really do need to be fixed will continue to be ignored.
Well, yes and no. Like, if anything else, I would rather they do more road maintenance in terms of cleaning up because we get a lot of trash on the road as well as a lot of road. Like, for the past couple of years, we have way more roadkill on the road than we usually have, and I would rather they deal with that. But for what some reason, the last bit of road work we've ever had was expanding a bridge, which I never really understood. Like, the bridge before was fine now, and it was like one of the more residential back roads kind of bridge, so I didn't think it really needed extra capacity, but I guess either the government or the road companies thought otherwise. I don't know.
You can't trust either of them because they're both in the business of just making money.
Yeah. It's sort of like what's going on with I guess you could say software companies nowadays, like people who work on software, people who work on internet and shit like that, where no longer do you have people that just focus on other aspects of the company, and every once in a while they'll do fixes or do updates to the systems because they think, oh hey, if we could do some updates, we could fix some issues. Like, no, you have specific people whose whole jobs is to implement like new stuff, not if it's going to be beneficial or detrimental to the software, but just overall new stuff, and just keep on innovating the systems, even if there's really nothing the system needs to be further improved. They do not receive a paycheck unless they do something routinely new and just keep screwing everything up. Like, if you want
it makes sense.
If you want your paycheck, you better do something new, even if it screws everything over and the system itself is not ready for the update. If you don't do it, you don't receive money, and that does like a whole lot of issues that, yeah, it could have been so easily avoided. It's one of my gripes, as well as a lot of gripes of many people at ITD Tech, like the teachers and students used to have about software before it got shut down by the government due to administration embezzlement of government money.
God damn.
Just a bit.
Yeah, I'm still not over that because that got shut down a year and a half of my studies into ITT Tech. So, and since they went through a different accreditation method, none of my year and a half counted anywhere else. So I had to start from the beginning again. I hate my life.
I hate mine too, but not for the same reason. I'm going through DeviantArt right now, just looking at the horror section,
Oh
and
no!
I found furry venom.
Why would you subject yourself to this?
Yeah,
I
I've
was
had
just going
questions
through the
about that.
horror section, and I'll give it this: it's at least in the right section.
Eh.
It's,
Is this going to be something you're going to share with the chat, Salem?
no, no, I'm not
I
that
hope
cruel.
not. I will brick my laptop to avoid this fate.
No, but I tell you what, there was a lot of things I wish I could have gone through life without seeing. Furry venom is one of them.
I can't imagine.
But you know, going through DeviantArt is like watching horror movies. You got to get through 9 really bad ones to find that gem.
That's just like me with slasher horror. I do not like any slasher horror.
Is like the bottom of the barrel, dude. You gotta
Like,
go
I don't understand why so
mystery
many people
thriller.
like slasher horrors. I just cannot get into them. The only time I've enjoyed anything related to slasher horror was Cabin in the Woods, where they sort of make fun of slasher horror.
Yeah,
and
it's like
with,
a parody, yeah.
Yeah, and with Dead by Daylight, where the entire game is all about, you know, refining slasher horror tropes to make a game out of it, and I got you kind of like it.
Yeah. Here, you want me to get you on the right track for good horror? Yeah, this is coming out of left field, but you're gonna have to watch an anime. Have you seen Higurashi no Nako Koroni?
Like the Japanese name for it doesn't really stick out to me. Is there like an English translation for that I may have heard of?
It's called
When They Cry.
English, I think it's called When They Cry.
Yep, it is.
Okay, then no, I haven't seen that.
Okay, now
John Carpenter's The Thing is my shit. I love it.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, like the suspense for it is pretty damn palpable, and then the design of the monster itself is fantastic.
And all the different rigs they had to build for the same scene of the different stages of a monster.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it to death.
I know it's okay. I know this isn't a pure horror movie, but I really like Gremlins.
Well, Gremlins is
pretty good. I like Gremlins.
That's a horror comedy.
It's a spoof. It's a spoof of the genre.
However, I argue that it's a Christmas movie.
Every once in a while, me and my family actually makes references to that. Like whenever, whenever we're just doing stuff without the lights being on, and we're doing moderately fine, then the lights come on, we're like temporarily blinded because sudden flash. We're like, bright light, bright light,
bright light,
bright light.
Did anyone subject themselves to the Thing prequel?
Yeah,
I don't think I have.
No, and I never will.
No,
actually, I didn't know that the Thing had a prequel. Actually,
yeah, it came out recently, and then they did away with all the practical effects, turned them into terribly fluid CG, and on top of all that, they explained everything that happened in the Norwegians' base. So any tension or suspense is removed. Like, oh, that's how that axe got in the door. Oh, that's how he cut his throat. It's like it was much better, but when you didn't understand what actually happened there, it was all unknown.
I mean, I really don't buy into the whole practical versus CGI argument. Like, both can be terrible and both can be pretty sweet depending on who's doing it. But
no, it was Norwegians, shirtless Yoda. Also, by the way, Demon Eater says in the chat, Vamp says, and I quote, "I didn't do nothing." Yes, of course she says that.
So, did anyone
Anytime Vamp and Lenore deny hexing my PC, they are lying.
Yep. So, has anyone read John Carpenter's Tales of Science Fiction?
No.
No.
Though I wish I have, because apparently it's pretty good.
Yeah, one of the stories, I think it's Vortex, is basically The Thing, but on a space station.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool.
That sounds pretty great.
I definitely think if you are in horror, if you like horror, you gotta see the first Alien movie.
Oh, that's a slasher movie in space, but it's an excellently executed one. I mean, it was so simple.
It's a slasher movie without being a slasher movie.
The one
Here,
thing
Dan,
go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Well,
Go ahead.
one thing about slasher movies that makes them so terrible nowadays is that there are no likable victims.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember back in the day, back when I watched Spoonie, he had this one video where he was I can't remember what movie he was reviewing, but there's a quote that stuck out to me. He said, "If I'm cheering for the victims, it's a horror movie. If I'm cheering for the killer, it's a comedy."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say something similar. It's like, if it's gonna be horror, then you need to feel like something is at stake of being lost. You need to not want to lose what you're about to have ripped from you.
And can I say, without anyone holding this against me, but if you want to get into some good horror, then just get ready for Rapture. I just had to do that. It's perfect opportunity.
Okay, Dan, I sent you a link. Check it out later. But if you want to get back to watching some good horror, watch that clip and just, if that interests you at all, then you got to give that show a watch.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, which is why I'm dead in the game. Who cares? I'm totally sucking at this. I'm not having a good luck with all the traps.
And speaking of my involvement with the Mythoverse, and this could just be me after quite a few beers and a couple of glasses of red wine, but I'm also just getting it out there. But to the guy who talked about wanting to play the Mythoverse as an RPG, well then get ready, because I've actually been working on something quite like that for like at least the past month that I think that I'm not ready to reveal yet, but I think people might enjoy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, you were the person we were speaking of earlier.
Yeah, because my addition to the Mythoverse did have its own RPG, but I've been thinking for the past month, I've been thinking about trashing that just so I can insert it into a grander project, which is turning the Mythoverse into a tabletop game.
I think like several years down the line, we definitely gotta consider doing that.
Well, at least on my part, consider it already considered.
We might as well just call it.
All I'll say is,
We just want to be able to pay you properly is the point.
I know.
Yeah.
All I'll say is, did Marvel or DC ever make a tabletop RPG where you could have stories?
Marvel Superheroes. It was a great game.
There's Marvel Superheroes, and I'm pretty sure there's a DC version as well. But I definitely know there's at least a Marvel one, because I remember playing a homebrewed version of the Marvel Superheroes thing.
God damn! I thought we actually would have had something on them.
Well, we got something on other.
Well, they haven't done that since like the 70s and 80s. Like, you can't get a modern version of it. They kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun, too. The way that they ranked abilities.
What kind of system were they running back in the day?
I can't quite remember, but I think it was a D20 system, but in a different way than Dungeons and Dragons.
It was 2d10s, and it was all percentage based against a table.
2d10s.
Yeah. And so the way that it worked was your ranks were categorized by adjectives. So Spider-Man had rank incredible strength. The Hulk had rank unearthly strength, and stuff like that. So I think it went from feeble to typical to remarkable to incredible, amazing, monstrous, unearthly. And so a Thor would have like unearthly endurance, unearthly strength, unearthly fighting. And an Aunt May would have feeble strength, etc. That kind of stuff.
and it was all based on like
Right.
all based on like a percentage against a universal table.
I think at that point, I would probably prefer a 2d6 system.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of saw this going in. I kind of thought Mythoverse RPG would lend itself to something more similar to either World of Darkness or Call of Cthulhu.
It would all have to depend on what we try to, I say agree on for a universal system, because I imagine each individual comic the Mythoverse is based off of would have different feels to them, which would give way to different mechanics and different feels.
They would. I mean, like for
Like,
one,
like I would imagine, despite it being the same game, I imagine a campaign around, let's say, the Mythics would be vastly different than a campaign all about the Paladins, as well as to be vastly different than from Paradise. So I like Rapture. I would imagine they will have like their own different feels that we have to think about.
probably Rapture would we'd probably have to if we did an RPG. Rapture would have to be used like Ravenloft is in D&D.
Well, the thing, funny enough, when it came to Rapture, or Escape from Paradise, as its RPG version is called, it didn't have a whole lot of mechanics. Surprising in terms of rolling, like you got like skills like your like athleticism and stuff like that by itself, but then inside of Paradise itself, you roll a d4 to summon a creature depending on your character's addictions and what they like feel good about life with. See what kind of creature do we fight against, and then every round you roll a d4 to figure out what trauma and phobia you're using, and both the euphoric monster and the despair monster would attack you yourself, and depending on a d20 roll would be who got the damage on you done, and then roll another d4 or d6 to see what damage they've done until you've completed a bar, either euphoric or despair, to see if you won or lost the battle, and then if you won or lost would affect your overall psyche balance bar to see if you're going more euphoric or more despair, and that had all of its own issues depending on where you were on the bar. So it was a whole game all about balances than anything else. Because if you win too many times and go too far into despair, you probably just end up killing yourself, which would cause a chain reaction of your other allies having more despair. Or if you lost too many times, you became euphoric, and then you either become a psychic demon or psychic devil, which would probably involve you having to fight your own allies, or you just disappear from the game forever.
Damn.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of like I said, the entire game is all about balance.
Yeah. This is like I think it's a good reason for us to really put this something that we do later down the line, just because there's gonna be a whole fuckload of logistics involved to perfect this.
I don't think like, despite the fact that Changeling is probably the one comic I'm kind of anticipating the most with the Mythoverse, I don't think Changeling will actually really add too much into the tabletop game itself, outside of, well, the fact that some characters could be Changelings themselves. I think if anything else, it'd probably bring more onto the table. Probably bring more creatures and monster types into them.
They would make better NPCs.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I'm a guy who will stow his ego away for what's good for the product.
But that's more to the fact of what what the Changeling is more about. It's all about Maeve and just her going through her own experiences of being a Changeling, rather than grand scale organizations and factions and monsters and creatures.
At this, I don't know. Have you checked the writer's guide lately?
I haven't read everything about it. I'm still more focused on adding my own parts to it than anything else.
I'll just say I added in some stuff that I think is going to actually expand on the face side of the Mythoverse. There's a hierarchy with the Fae. argue with the Fae. There's even different changeling factions now.
Oh yeah, I think you told me about that, where they all seem more like gangs than anything else.
Yeah, the seasonal courts and but yeah, as far as the Fae go, you got like the Seelie and Unseelie, where it's like you got one that basically the ruling class and everybody else.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty elegant, and I'll admit the ideas they're. I mean, they've been in the folklore for as long as the stories have been told, as far as I know. But I'd like to think I kind of managed to I found a way to put my own spin on them.
Does it sort of go down the path of like the old Scandinavian tales of the Fae, where like the Dark Fae are looked down upon because they're actually born from the maggots that feasted on a god's corpse?
Oh, really? So I don't know.
Well, can you say it again? I gotta write that down.
Like if I remember right, when it came to like the fair, like the dark fairies, like I can't remember what like the regular. If you combine the Fae with elves from the old Scandinavian tales, like the dark elves are
the
born.
Dark Elves were born from maggots that feasted on a god's corpse.
Yeah.
Oh man, I am.
So that's why not too many people like the dark elves, because they are literally born from maggots.
That is okay. I'm not gonna put dark elves in there, but that's going into volume 2 of the monster.
Okay, now as someone who's never really played D&D, where do the Dark Elves come from there?
Negromancy.
I can't quite remember how the Drow were really made, but they're essentially just older elves that went underground and were shaped by the like just the twisted stuff that goes on in the Underdark. Like they became corrupted by some demons, some devils, and got shaped by the really unhospitable landscapes of the Underdark.
I've got to screen cap this. Demon Eater just
Negromancy.
Hire Pope Fire as new writer for new season of Titans.
Wait, they hired who?
Pope Fire.
Truthfully, I actually prefer the origin story for the Draugr dwarves, because they actually go through some shit. It's kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, the Draugr used to be like one of the originating clans of the dwarves, pretty highly regarded for their warriors, but they like collectively heard a voice as they were doing some digging for like new territory, new minerals, and they followed this voice to like grant ambitious treasures that could make them become like the new kings of the children of Morden. And so they let the greed take them to the point to where a lot of the weaker members of their clan died out due to exhaustion and overworking. But then come to find out that this voice was all a trick, and they were actually being mind controlled by the Mind Flayers. And so the Mind Flayers took them, started doing experiments on them to turn them into the perfect slaves, and then just like all slaves to the Mind Flayers, they wound up revolting against them and they tried to go back to their former dwarves, but because they've been gone for so long and not heeding the calls of the other dwarves, they were disowned by Morden. And so they're like, well, screw you, we're going to form our own dwarven empire full of blackjack and hookers, and that's basically how the Duergar were made.
Hey, Pope Fire's back.
Hey, Popeye.
Do you have enough to eat?
Hello.
Pope Fire, you seen the chat?
I saw somebody wanting me to write for Titans.
Yeah, that would be Demon Eater. He's one of our backers.
Oh, well, thank you for endorsing me to write for Titans, but I don't think even I could save that show. There's actually big drama in the Starfire community because a whole bunch of people have been coming up and wanting Starfire to be recolored in the comics.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's been a fun time being a Starfire fan.
I actually considered Young Justice as like Teen Titans, but gone into the actual DC storyline.
Mm-hmm. Well, Young Justice is just
it helped me cope.
Yeah.
Since a
and-
great deal of Young Justice involved a lot of characters from Teen Titans.
Yeah, that's the problem though. They're even going the Judas Contract route, so they're even taking storylines from Teen Titans. They're Robin and Kid Flash are from Teen Titans. It's
Mhm.
not really Young Justice. It really is the Teen Titans, because they're even like Miss Martian was from the Teen Titans, not from Young Justice.
Yeah. And again, it helped me cope and not have to deal a whole lot with Teen Titans Go.
Oh well, in all truthfulness, Teen Titans Go doesn't bother me as much as Titans does.
Like, in the entire like, I gave Teen Titans Go as many opportunities as I could to have me enjoy it, and I think only out of the entire show, I think only laughed at like 2 jokes, and then there's the movie itself, which, you know, the trailers actually got me interested in because the trailer was actually kind of cool, and I've heard some good stuff about it. So outside of a couple of jokes and possibly in the movie, there's just nothing for me with Teen Titans Go.
Well, with Teen Titans Go, it's more from the cartoon. Like, it's more parodying the cartoon. With Titans, it's disrespecting the original source material and literally spitting in the faces of fans and calling them racist and sexist and all this other fun stuff. So that's my problem with Titans and why I prefer Go to the live action Titans. If that makes any sense. I'm sorry, I totally just hijacked the stream. I'm so sorry.
Hey, that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, this is our. I talk whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, the final hour is just shoot the shit. This
Well,
is the final hours when we basically go full Kumite.
Well, I'm down with that. Yeah, I've been dealing with the Starfire drama today because they're actually wanting to race change her in the comics now.
How can they race change her when she's a fucking space alien?
She's orange.
Okay, here's the thing. These people that have popped up are not actually Starfire fans. Surprise, surprise. They're actually people that are even admitting to just wanting to race bait and wanting to make the Starfire fans angry by saying, well, we want Starfire to look this way now. And here's the thing. Starfire fans would be just as pissed if it was a white woman playing her, because they want actual effort put into Starfire to where she looks correct. She's not wearing a $20 wig and she's not dressed as a prostitute. They want her to look like actual Starfire.
I was thinking to say, I could be fine with the Tamaranians being, you know, black to save on costs for like makeup and stuff. It just wasn't for the fact our first sight and narrative around it for the majority of the fact, if when it was first introduced, was just that Starfire just looks literally like a prostitute, like a $20 prostitute off a street corner.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad.
They used all the budget up. I mean, the episode called Coriander, which is her real name, only had her on screen, where she was even on screen for about 11 minutes. She was probably the focus of it for maybe 8. And keep in mind, Titans is an hour an episode. So they even stated in an interview that they ignored the source material in favor of combining movies they liked to make Starfire, which also explains why she goes from this really compassionate character to one that literally is okay with hurting people if her just staring at her incorrectly.
But wasn't she always like, you know, I'm from somewhat a warrior culture and I can fight if I need to, I just don't want to?
Yeah, essentially, Starfire is very emotionally driven. She's not going to just beat somebody up because they looked at her funny. Because again, if you read the original New Teen Titans,
are these the same people that were perfectly fine with Miss Marvel basically crippling a guy and stealing everything from him because he just decided to be
to ask her
badly,
yes.
badly flirty with her?
These are the same people that 2 weeks prior to Anna Diop's casting were telling Starfire fans they were sexist. Even though most of Starfire actually has a very high minority and female fan base, and she also was one of the first characters to deal with racism in Africa. So it's laughable to sit here and say Starfire fans are racist when almost every incarnation of Starfire has dealt with race in one shape or form.
And she was literally like the only character in the Teen Titans cartoon to have to deal with racism. Even Cyborg.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. I mean, even in her cartoon, she's dealt with racism. And she's done it in a very positive, compassionate way because that's Starfire. She even states like you shouldn't just hurt people because they're mean to you. You really should like realize that other people aren't going to be like that. With Titan Starfire, she literally kills somebody for looking at her.
Well, those are the only dragons they know how to write anymore.
Stupid.
Popefire, you're obviously a Nazi for making sense.
Well, like
actually, when I was reviewing the Titans live-action show, somebody threatened to swat me for not liking Anna Diop's Starfire. And here's the thing, even on my streams, I state Anna Diop is not the problem. It's the writing and the costume. But apparently, even though I've stated several times that I like Anna Diop as a person, I think she's really beautiful. I just think that they could have handled Starfire better because this is my favorite character. I'd like her to be handled in a respectable way. And instead, what they did was they used the actress's race to call fans racist just because we didn't like a costume.
Same like with the people who didn't like Rose Tico from The Last Jedi, but yeah, just because she's an Asian actress, you get to call all the detractors racist.
Well, even when you look at
going to be
Rose
any
Tico,
these guys.
She was. I mean, the same thing happened with Starfire. She was purposely made to look ugly, to look like the complete opposite of her character. So whenever they got criticism, they could go, "Well, you guys are just racist."
By the way, Demon Eater says in the chat, not to mention, Starfire has always had a better fashion sense than, well, that.
Yes, Starfire is a model. She has a really amazing fashion sense.
Like, wait, in the comics, she was actually a model?
She's actually a model, yes.
I'm honestly not surprised.
I mean, if I remember right, the Tamaranians were a pretty openly sexual society due to their, state that they use their emotions to be able to fly and do energy blasts.
Yeah, that's another thing. This is a character that's famous for flying that has not even shown an ounce of flying. And I don't believe that budget cutting, because, they introduce a good guy character every 2 episodes in Titans. Every 2 episodes, there's a good guy character.
Okay.
That's a problem when you don't even have budget for your main 4 characters. Because Starfire, you could clearly tell that Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy did not get a good budget put towards them. You can tell
especially
that
with Beast Boy, considering he's not even green all the way through.
And they don't do any other animal but tigers.
Like I actually wouldn't be surprised if they even forgot the fact that Beast Boy is a vegan, even though I still, question Beast Boy as a character being vegan, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay, in the original comics, he wasn't actually a vegan. I believe it was actually Raven that was the vegan.
What do you say?
Because it's like, because I remember in the cartoon, Beast Boy was against meat on the pizza. It's like
he was a vegetarian. He was a vegetarian.
It's like you're a vegetarian, but yeah, that's meat on. It's like, okay, what about, dude? I've been half of those animals. Like, yeah, and half of those animals you've been eat other animals. Well, what's the point here?
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with him being a vegetarian. But I do think in the original comics it was actually Raven. Because it would fit more in line with Raven's character than it does with Beast Boy's.
Yeah, because she was a monk, and a lot of monks do the vegetarian lifestyle.
So to me, it always made more sense that it was Raven that was the vegan than Beast Boy. But if they want, I know that they mostly just did that for comedic timing. So
it's like the thing with the elves, with a lot of places that do elves where they are vegetarians because they commune with nature and they don't eat animals because they can commune with the animals. It's like, well, yeah, but they're guardians of nature. They understand that some people have, some creatures have to eat meat, and they don't only just commune with the animals. They'll commune with the plants and the trees, like the treants, who are tree guardians that walk around and fight stuff. It's like the plants are just as much alive as the animals. So why are you selective in what you eat? That makes no sense.
I was gonna say that I kind of like how Elder Scrolls put a nice twist on this with the Wood Elves, because apparently Wood Elves and Elder Scrolls, they can only eat meat.
Well, the thing is, they do the Green Pact, which is a pact where they have to eat what they kill, even if it's their own kind. If they kill another Wood Elf, they have to eat the body, because that's part of the Green Pact.
Holy shit! So they do cannibalism too?
Yeah.
They don't believe in waste.
They do not believe in waste at all whatsoever. They'll still eat like fruits and vegetables because like if they pick it, they gotta eat it. But if they kill a creature or a person, they have to eat the body.
That is grisly.
It is part of the Green Pact, which is a pact the Wood Elves made with the spirit of the wild as a species. They literally cannot leave to waste anything that they do. Which is kind of sort of why you don't really have a bandit problem in Vardenfell, because
that was Bosmer. Vardenfell's isn't Vardenfell for the Dark Elves?
No. That's Morrowind. Vardenfell is the place of the like you're thinking of type because Bosmer is their actual name. Vardenfell is the name of their territory.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, Demeter said, "You think that is messed up? Talk about the Drow."
Dude, Drow elves. Their entire religion is about being sadistic. Well, let's be frank about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More sadistic, the Drow or the Dark Eldar?
At that point, the Dark Eldar, but the Drow are pretty close.
Well, I don't know. The Dark Eldar gets so sadistic, it's almost cartoonish.
That's exactly why I'd say the Dark Eldar is more sadistic, but the Drow's pretty close. Yeah. But they kind of go like the extra mile with the Drow being a matriarchy because of Lolth, who is their demon queen.
Mm-hmm. Isn't she like a spider or something?
Yeah. She's the goddess of spiders. Which is also fitting because the Dark Elves and the Elder Scrolls worship the three goddesses, the three Daedra goddesses. One of the major ones is Methala, who is also the Queen of Spiders.
Wait, did you say the Dark Elves and Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
Dude, they worship the Tribunal, and but they don't do that anymore ever since Morrowind.
Well, the thing is, before the Tribunal, it was the three goddesses, and then the Tribunal happened, which is why in Morrowind, Azura, who is one of the three goddesses, came to you, the player character's like, yeah, look, you need to end the Tribunal because they're not worshiping us anymore. The Tribunal was still a very recent thing that only lasted for a very short amount of time.
Short? When you say short amount, isn't it talking about it like it had been going for like hundreds of years at that point?
It went on for a couple hundred years, but again, given the entire timeline of Elder Scrolls, that is a very short period.
True. That is true. I'll concede that point.
But yeah, Azura, Methala, and Boethia are the three main goddesses that the Drow, the Dark Elves, worship, and they don't really like many of the other Daedra lords. Like, they do not like Sheogorath at all. They consider him part of one of the harmful houses. They do not like Sheogorath in the least bit. Same thing with Dagon. They don't like Dagon because he's against order. He's the Daedric Lord of Rebellions, so they don't like him any.
Wait, Dagon or Dagoth-Ur?
No, Dagon. You know, like the main bad guy of Oblivion.
When I hear Dagon, when I hear Dagon, the first thing that runs through my head is Lovecraft.
Exactly. I got the same issue. But no, it's Lord Dagon, the god of rebellion and change.
I could swear it was Dagoth.
Nah. As you can tell, I spent a great deal of my time learning lores from many different sources, including Elder Scrolls, World of Warcraft, and all sorts of other places.
And yes, Dusk was correct. Dagoth-Ur was one of the Tribunal.
Yeah, Dagoth-Ur is one of the... Actually, isn't he the introspective one, the one that does all the meditation, or is that someone else?
I think so.
Because I think that's the one that stopped the asteroid from before it collided with the city, and they used it as like a prison or something like that. I I can barely remember. It's been too long since I did Morrowind.
I tried to run Morrowind on my PC and it would not run.
I can't run Morrowind through my laptop because I don't have a disk drive on it. I'll need to buy the game all over again, and I just don't feel up to doing that.
Oh, I hear you on that.
I already did that with StarCraft. I don't feel like doing it all over again.
Now over on Twitter, it appears that everyone seems to be in agreement that Popefire should run with Demon Eater. That Popefire should be writing Titans.
Oh no! Don't tell me we're already starting another hashtag movement here.
Well,
Oh,
unlike
God.
the showrunner, I believe she actually cares about the property.
I would like to write a solo series Starfire because I already have a really good idea.
I mean,
I should be in charge of that. They hired this one woman that's famous for writing food, to write the Starfire novel, and the title of it is I Am Not Starfire. So that's gonna be pretty good. I mean, I know it's a play on the I Am Not Spock novel. Oh my god, but I still find it like okay. I'd like to write Starfire, please. I like Starfire. Let me write her.
Wasn't it already
I'd be good.
proven? Wasn't it already proven like a couple of months ago, or maybe even a year ago, that a lot of the comic and show writers don't really want to work on the characters and stories they're doing. They want to do their own thing, but they got stuck with what they're doing now.
I mean, a good example of that is the She-Ra show. A really good example of that is the She-Ra show.
It's like they don't want to work on what they're working on now, but they have to hopefully get the chance to work on their own thing. And so they just take all their aggression out on what they're working on currently. Because I remember that being a thing not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean that was the She-Ra crew, and then they've also had some other people. I mean, you can tell with Starfire alone, you can do the solo series where they didn't read anything other than the cartoons wiki page, so they pretty much just used everything from that.
So wait, if in the solo series did she basically talk like she did in the cartoon, but just bad?
Yeah, it was worse though because Cartoon Starfire has the other Titans to work off of. And that Starfire had the absolute worst supporting cast I've ever seen in comics.
The freaking speech impediment was like dialed up to 11 in Teen Titans Go, and I just found that absolutely annoying instead of endearing.
It's not a speech impediment.
Okay, I like Starfire's voice actress. I've actually talked to her a handful of times. She's actually really nice.
I like her voice actress too, and it was fine in the original.
It's not a speech impediment, Dusk. It's just how she talks because she doesn't get idioms.
Yeah, but to have everything have the prefix of the before it is wildly retarded.
Because Tamaranians don't have like stuff like they don't have. It's all very formal language.
As I said, it was fine in the original Teen Titans because that was for more like proper nouns or slangs that she didn't get the hang of, and that's perfectly fine. But when it went to Teen Titans Go, it was literally every single word that has the prefix of the before it. That was just awful.
Yeah, I know it's
annoying.
I'm gonna have to come in. I'm gonna have to come down on Dusk's side. I'd hope because it was fine in the original cartoon just because it gave her a quirk and they didn't abuse it. But that's literally how
it's like watching.
Well, I mean, you have to understand, Teen Titans Go is supposed to antagonize people. I actually did a video on why people hate Teen Titans Go for all the wrong reasons. It's supposed to antagonize people, and I really encourage you to watch that video because you'll learn a lot about Teen Titans Go in there.
All I'm hearing is that if I watch your video, I'm going to get more reasons to not like Teen Titans Go, and I got plenty of reasons for that already.
Well, okay, so to summarize, Teen Titans Go happened because the fans wanted Teen Titans back, and they made petitions. They wrote it on Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network brought Teen Titans back. However, the fans were lied to because they were promised a short called New Teen Titans, and instead they brought in a new creative team that is now considered Teen Titans Go. So this fan-driven project is now run by people that hate the fandom. And we know this because they make 2 or 3 episodes a season antagonizing the fan base.
Yeah, and as I said, I've tried to give that show as many chances as I can to like it, and it just does not deliver. I just don't like anything about it. Ugh.
I mean, there's some stuff that I like about it, but it's not anything that I'm like totally
Like,
recommending. But I also understand that I'm an adult woman, so it's not really my forte anymore. And I have realized, and I will say this: Teen Titans Go brought the Titans back into people's minds, and I do not think that we would have got the animated Titans movies if not for Teen Titans Go. And I also am glad because people no longer call Starfire the orange chick. She's also not orange; she's actually golden skin. Because that was very obnoxious being a Starfire fan, and people always saying, "Oh, is that the orange chick from Teen Titans?" It's like, yeah, Starfire. So I will give Teen Titans Go credit where it's due because it did bring Teen Titans back to people's minds.
Yeah, but it also probably killed off many other creative aspects because
it did kill off the fandom. It killed off the fandom.
Yeah, it killed off that, and he also killed off like any future shows we probably could have had because, dear lord, the Cartoon Network basically shoved that in almost every single slot in their viewing schedule.
Well, okay, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the woman in charge of Cartoon Network really doesn't want to pay for new shows, and Warner Brothers pays partially for Teen Titans. Like Cartoon Network pays very little for Teen Titans.
So it's half Teen Titans Go fault and half Cartoon Network's fault.
By also being funded by toy sales as well.
And there's the rub. And that was actually why Young Justice got axed originally, because there was a toy deal put in place with it, and the toy did not sell.
Well, the problem is
Young Justice was a way better show.
Well, you need to market more towards children when you're making those types of shows, because Teen Titans Go does sell figures. Young Justice did not, and there was a reason for that. As well as the show that Young Justice was, it didn't sell.
Catering to kids is going to kill creativeness in the West.
Well,
that's the thing. Kids shows used to be dark.
Hold up, Dan had something.
What? No, I'm just saying.
It didn't sell the streaming service either, because the streaming service is also a failure, and Young Justice did not save it, and that was supposed to save it.
You said kids shows used to be dark, right, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, did you ever see Return to Oz?
Back then, kid shows weren't really meant for kids. It was to sell to the whole family.
Well, yeah, fairy tales for kids were dark because they had lessons like go out there and lie and you'll die because the wolf is gonna eat you.
I mean, let's be honest though. Every generation had the Ren and Stimpy, the SpongeBob, the mindless cartoon that was on at the time, and Teen Titans Go is that. Teen Titans Go is that mindless show for this generation.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about
mindless shows. It didn't dominate literally the entire viewing schedule. You still had choice.
I mean, you haven't been looking at Nickelodeon's schedule, have you?
I stopped caring about Nickelodeon because they seem to mostly just go right into the live action. They stopped caring about cartoons.
SpongeBob was dominating Nickelodeon for quite some time. It actually was the reason Rugrats was killed off.
Really?
To be perfectly honest,
to
be perfectly honest, I've been dealing more with anime than Western cartoons because there's just a lot more quality there.
Right. Well, I think it's because anime has a lot more competition. With cartoons, there's really Western cartoons. They only keep a select cartoons on each channel. With anime, you're literally gonna get an anime of anything.
Actually, you might get 10 or 15 animes of a certain thing. You gotta pick and choose which you prefer.
Yeah.
Right now, isekai is the big anime genre.
I have yet to find an isekai I do not like. It's actually kind of funny. Have y'all ever watched Isekai Quartet?
I've heard of it.
Or know what Isekai Quartet is?
I've only heard of it.
Isekai Quartet is a comedic spin-off where you combine 4 isekai series within not within the same shop but the same friendship circle. It's Konosuba, Re:Zero, Overlord, and Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Interesting.
and it's actually pretty hilarious. I love it, and I actually can't even stop listening to their opening and ending songs because they're so goddamn wholesome as standalone songs.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just been more into animes than Western cartoons because they just have way more quality to them than Western cartoons at the moment.
Western cartoons are mostly being made in Flash, and Flash is not the most visibly appealing.
Well,
and they're also,
I mean, you say that, but like one of the most popular Western cartoons to this day, like My Little Pony, has been mostly made in Flash.
Yeah, but again, when all animation in the Western industry is Flash animation, there's a problem there. There's nothing diverse, and Flash animation is it's all great and dandy, except all of them look the same.
Yeah, the big problem. The big problem that you noticed with all these Flash animated shows is that they always have those really simplistic character designs. Like Flash animation is not something where you can do stuff. You could not do like Batman the Animated Series.
Did I cut out? I feel like I cut out.
I think maybe Brett did for a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
sometimes
guys, I'm gonna have to step out. Okay.
All right. Thanks for coming, Salem.
Yeah, you have a good one.
See you later.
Yep.
On that note, it is getting it's past 11 on my time, so we've been on for over 2 hours. So I think we're going to call it here for the evening. We had a lot of great discussions, and I really appreciated everyone coming on out, and hope everyone had a good time tonight. Again, we're going to be tweeting out and plugging the hell out of Pope Fire's fundraiser. So let's make sure that that word gets out. And again, we have opened our Subscribe Star and our Patreon, $1 a month. Get you early access to the webcomic that comes out every Wednesday, except tomorrow. There's going to be fan art in its place because Antonella's out of town. And you'll also get first crack at exclusive audio content. So please consider helping us fund these incredible artists and voice actors, bringing you the new content via Subscribe Star and Patreon. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shirtless Yoda. Thank you, everyone that came into the chat. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Duskquill, for your scintillating conversation and voice when you finally got in here. You're always welcome back here. I know, anytime you want, obviously. And I can't wait to see what you add to...
I'm just more of the type like, oh, they're already in the middle of something. I just don't want to barge right on in.
No, that's fine, especially in Hour 2. Like, Hour 1 is typically more structured. Hour 2 is when I fire up the game and kind of just listen and chime in when I can. And by all means, that's what the voice chat's for Hour 2. So come on in and discuss whatever you like. So
fair enough.
And before we go, I just want to say, unhex my PC. Blame Vamp and Lenore.
that isn't happening. They're having way too much fun watching you squirm over this.
Yeah.
All right. So again, thank you, everyone. I'm going to lead out with the Mythics theme by Zalin Talus, and make sure you check out his channel in the description for all of his great comic book music. He's very prolific. He's done work for almost everyone in Comicsgate. He's done it for Rags. He's done it for us and everyone you can think of. So help him out. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
You as well.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Bye.